here's your host, Darren Windle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to podcast episode number 44, brought to you by the Windle Fishing YouTube channel. And if you're listening on the podcast and you've never been to that channel, over 800 videos on the topic of fishing and specifically kayak fishing. Guys, tonight I have two brothers fishing, and we're going to be talking about how to catch bass in October. I asked these two, Jeremy and JT, to come on because the last time I had them on, like the beginning of September, I got some of the best feedback on a podcast that I've ever received, like the best podcast I've ever heard when it comes to like tactical. So I wanted to bring them back at the beginning of October, even though I know they have a lot going on. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's just a busy season right now. I resigned from my job this past week. This is my last week, and I'm going to be serving as the National Vice President of Development for childhelp.org. Which is an organization that basically meets the emotional, educational, and spiritual needs of abused, neglected, and at-risk children here in the United States. So pretty excited about that. That's some new news for me. But if you're not live right now and you're listening in from the podcast, maybe you're working on your kayak, you're out fishing, driving home from work or whatever you do, I'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to me via Instagram or YouTube. I actually don't respond to anything on TikTok. I keep getting notifications like you have like 100 people who have written. I just been ignoring them for months. Anyways, let's hop in. Let's bring JT and Jeremy. Guys, welcome to the show. You guys are getting ready for a tournament, right?
Oh, yeah. It's that crazy time of year. All the regular season derbs are finished, and now it's time for all the big stuff at the end of the season. That is for sure.
So tell me how this all came about. What tournament is this? And for those who like don't follow all the time, JT, we're friends. Jeremy, I've been watching you guys, but this is a long time coming.
Yeah. So we fish a club it's the biggest club in Indiana. It's called the Grassroots Bass Yakin. It's a kayak focused club. It's actually the first group of guys I ever met that were tournament anglers. As you may or may not know, I fished on an Army base for years, and Jeremy fished at a bunch of ponds near another military base where he lives. But I got into kayak fishing because the Navy base that I work on, had a really shallow lake and just loaded with tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy and I, there's probably a video from April last year where we had a day where we probably caught, 20 some fish between 3 and 5.5 pounds, just like
Dang.
every third cast. It was insane.
Dang.
But I sold my boat prior to that because I couldn't get my boat into that lake, and I wanted to fish this lake for the rest of my life. And so we got into kayak fishing, and this was probably about 10 years ago. So, we go to Walmart and get the sit-ins, and then eventually worked our way up to sit-ons and, years later. Well, when COVID hit, they shut the base down, even for recreational activities. And I'm like, oh man, I still want to go fish, but I can't go to my honey hole where my YouTube channel started, where I make it look easy to catch bass, And so I went out to the closest public lake, which is, down over where my dad lives. And I was putting in, and I had 3 guys coming in, fully rigged out kayaks. And I'm like, oh, y'all, I didn't even know there was other people that fished out of a kayak.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're just finishing up a tournament for the day. And I'm like, tournament? What kayak tournaments? Jeremy and I used to fish boat tournaments years ago. Okay. We had no idea that tournament kayak fishing was even a thing. And so we got to talking to these guys, and then I started fishing with them a little bit. And then, after a couple of years, Jeremy, did 1 or 2, as well. But so coming up, it turns out they've got, 3 different series. They have a lake series that is 5 different tournaments on, I think like 8 or 9 different lakes. They've got 3 river series on 3 different rivers here in Indiana. And then they also have a trail series, which is a northern and a mid Indiana, I guess it is, where it's like 5 stops at various other places. So huge here in Indiana. Lots and lots of fish caught. Starts in March, and we just concluded. And now we're getting ready to have, here in the fall, we have the lake championship, and in the spring will be the river championship.
Okay.
So I qualified for the championship through finishing a bunch of the tournaments. Jeremy mostly fishes the monthlies and KBF, and he fished 1 or 2 of the derbs, but not enough to qualify, but he dipped his toes into it this year. But so we have the championship this Saturday and Sunday this year, and one of the cool features they're going to do for the people who say focused on the River Series and didn't really care about the Lake Series, we're doing a big team event on day one of this tournament. And so we drew out 3-man teams and just random draw. And oddly enough, Jeremy and I got paired together because it's like for $6 he can come in and fish this team event.
Oh, nice.
The one day. And then we'll have a big awards ceremony afterwards and hand out all the angler of the year. And then the following day, when the tournament concludes, then we'll hand out all the first prize. They give away like 4 kayaks. They give away a $4,000 gift certificate for an on the water innovations trailer. I mean, it's a big.
Oh, wow. That's a nice trailer now. If you guys haven't seen those.
I mean, it's like $26,000 in prizes and whatnot too. So plus the you're the champ. So I don't go to win with any expectations. I go to fish, have fun, meet other people. We have dudes in this state and in this trail that travel around and fish against Guillermo and Christine Fisher and every Drew Gregory and those, Fluke Master. We have lots of hammers in this state. So Jeremy and I do it recreationally, but it also itches that twitch for, getting out and, doing a little tournament stuff. But it's a cool way also to meet other people too. So
yeah,
that's kind of what we got going this weekend. But leading into it, we had a cold front last weekend while high school tournament was going on. We were out there pre-fishing. Nobody was catching jack. And then it warms up in the 80s all this week.
Uh-huh.
Then it's supposed to rain on Thursday, drop 20 more degrees by Friday, and then there's a possibility we might be getting on the water in 40-degree temperatures on Saturday morning, and a possibility of being on the water in the upper 30s on Sunday.
Oh, that's hot.
Yeah, so I got a jacket that I'll bring along just in case. But
that on the water innovations trailer, if you guys haven't seen those before, the first time I saw one is when Chad and Gene did that video on theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're walking through everything, I was like, oh, I need to stop watching this video because I'm going to end up dropping a significant amount of money on one, because they're not cheap, but they are super nice, especially if you travel a lot. So it makes sense. And the more and more you become addicted to the sport, the more and more, quote unquote, you invest in it. Yes. But they are nice. Go check them out if you haven't seen those yet. But I still got my utility trailer that I modified into a double decker kayak trailer. It's working just fine for now until it doesn't. But I got my eyes on one of those.
Between this tournament and then our state challenge series championship and Invitational down at Gunnersville, somewhere in there, I will be bringing a new kayak trailer maker into public. You might have seen me, if you follow me on Instagram, posting some of their stuff while sitting in my driveway as a result of my recent trip down to Mr. Hoover's for them to do a video with this new company, FTK Trailers, Fish Texas Kayak Trailers, out of Glen Rose, Texas, down there by Dallas, Fort Worth. We're going to introduce somebody who's new to the trailer making market, who's got a different spin on thing, uses a little thicker stuff. It's going to be nice, but I've had some of I didn't have him build it and completely out because I had some mods myself that I wanted to add to it, and I'm working on those because I've got the Old Town kayak with the trolling motor. I wanted there's only a certain size box that you can get to put on front of them. I want to be able to store the motor, but I'll cover all that too. But we're going to be introducing a new kayak trailer maker here in the very near future over on my channel too. So
I saw pictures of it, and it definitely looks different, and I like it. I like the concept. I was like, all right.
The dude even went so far as to match the rims on my truck with my trailer. And I'm like,
going the extra mile.
So
going out extra mile. Okay, so I got a question for you. So you're getting ready for this tournament, right? This is kind of a segue in tonight's theme, which is really just diving into October. What are the fish doing? So with everything you said when it comes to weather, right? You had, the smorgasbord of weather over the past week and going into this weekend. What are you doing with your pre-fishing strategy? What's going through your mind? Because in the green room, Jeremy, I'll let you start it off. We were talking, and you've been up since the butt crack of dawn this morning. I'll let you take it over from here.
Well, yeah, I got up this morning at 3:30 and just started doing research. I know this time of year what I'm looking for is the grass is starting to die with the cold weather that we had come in, and I've noticed as the grass starts dying, they'll first move into the greener grass, but then when that's gone, they go to wood or rock. So what I was trying to do is find where the thickest vegetation in the area we chose to fish is, and then in hopes of finding a little bit of grass still a little deep. Like JT found some the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's worth more than actually catching fish for me pre-fishing, dragging in that grass, bringing it up. So right now, Indiana's it's in a funk, but so knowing where they're going and what they're doing as you follow them, that's really where you have to start. Yeah, I don't know how really to explain it best, but once you figure that they're no longer in the grass, you know it's rock and wood, and then you got to find what has rock, wood, and all the other components that they're looking for, access to deep water, bait fish. So you have to mix all that in with the weather and everything else. So I always tell people, if you have to choose between rock and wood, I prefer wood first. If they're not on wood, go find the rock. You'll find them because in 2 weeks, the fishing's going to be phenomenal. Everybody will be out just whacking them. I told my neighbor lady today, I said, in 2 weeks, I could take you out. You've never fished, and you'd catch a ton of fish. It's because the baits are not necessarily so important during that part. But for me, it's this transition from late summer into the fall when they just disappear. The bigs go somewhere. I mean, I'm on a lake that I've been catching 19s consistently every day. And then all of a sudden, 13s, 14s. Where do they go?
Yeah.
And that's the trick. You've got to follow the steps and find them.
So with these bass, the transition right now that they're in, JT or Jeremy, I don't care which one. So walk me through, because we had you back last month, and you gave a lot of you changed every base. Jeremy, you don't use rattles anymore. In fact, you use specifically almost the same thing. Has that changed? Are you still using that same strategy throughout October? Or do you switch over to the hard baits, which you see a lot of anglers switching over to right now?
I do half and half.
Oh, okay.
That's how I approach it, because right now I have a 10-inch worm rod that's tuned, ready to go. And then I have another one for a 7-inch. 10-inch has a rattle in it now. 7-inch doesn't. One of those two baits will catch my biggest fish this weekend. I guarantee it. But I have other baits we'll talk about and why I'm going to be throwing them too, because it all kinds to go together now where, this is the most important time where baits and the method that you follow is a little more crucial.
So JT, walk us through like what bass are doing right now in general, and speak for Indiana, right? And Ohio, because I'm kind of the same here. What did they just get done doing, and what are they doing now, and what are they going to be doing through October? And then once we start getting to November, it's like it's almost like game over for us up here in Indiana and Ohio. So unpack that for us.
So, I mean, for me, it seems like this year I never know what these dang things are doing. It's really body by body. Any place I go, whether it's clear or stained, a bigger body of water, a smaller. Because I went fishing Friday, and I went to one of my favorite places this year where I hadn't done a whole lot on, but I didn't have a whole lot of time because it was my wife's birthday. But I mean, I had an idea that they would already be pushed up shallow because, again, this is a smaller body of water. the place where we're fishing, Patoka Lake, is a lake. It's the second biggest lake in the state. Again, it's one of those that gets hammered by tournament anglers over and over. I mean, it's just super busy, super huge. For the most part, a clear water lake, lots of grass, lots of rock, any kind of thing that you want to fish, you can find it. It's finding the fish. It's the fun part. And, you know, like I said, on that Friday, I was like, man, they're probably going to be in the shallow. The water was pretty stained. The sun was beating down on it. I got there about noon. I had from about noon to 3. And I was picking apart outside grass edges, throwing a chartreuse and blackback crankbait just to see who was doing what. I also had a dark, full-sized D-bomb, missile baits D-bomb that was in black purple magic. Just kind of pitching it around the edges too. And I caught a 19.5 on that crankbait. Lost a good one on that D-bomb. The bait bunched up a little bit around the hook. And that was my fault for not switching hooks to one of like the grip pin hooks. Chad Hoover introduced me to those. Man, they're a little bit expensive, but they work. And so I switched over to one of those and then caught another good fish. I probably lost like that 17, but then I had to get out of there. But I was feeling really good. Stained water, shallow, around the edges of grass that was still there, and kind of proved literally everything that Jeremy just said. But I kind of matched what I knew worked in that color water, and that's why I love a black or a chartreuse crankbait with a black back. And any kind of, you know, it's kind of like that Starbucks coffee that's got all the extra cream and everything in it. You know, just that contrast works really well, along with like a black and blue jig, or like I said, that black magic D-bomb. But then we turned around and went fishing on Saturday down at Patoka, and we spent the first, I don't know, few hours just buzzing around the lake. And what we were looking for is grass, and we were looking for bait fish, any sign of life. We were also watching where all these, you know, tournaments were, you know, the kids that were fishing the tournaments. And I say kids, but they're in that tournament for a reason. They have a dad, an uncle, grandpa, somebody who knows how to fish. That's the coach on the boat with them. So it's not like they're hiding their best spots. You know, they're going to be out fishing the best stuff. And they were literally all throwing what we were throwing in the places we wanted to throw. But we wanted to target some other areas, knowing the kind of weather that we have coming in. And, you know, we isolated a few different spots that kind of concentrate fish. And kind of that's what our goal is this weekend. But I see Brian Schaefer is asking, is there a special color for October? There's never a color for the month. And I'll tell you why. Because what if your lake's clear and it's got dying grass? You know, you're not trying to be super unnatural and gaudy in clear water. You want those green pumpkins. You want something natural. You're trying to really match, because the fish see the baits. You really have to fool them. If the water's stained, that's when you want those contrasting colors, those chartreuse with the black on the top. And a lot of people don't understand on crankbaits why a bait is yellow on the bottom and sides, but black on the top. If you ever sit there and cast your bait in front of you and just watch it come in, the bait will roll, you know, left and right, and you'll see the black and the yellow mix. And what that's doing is it's making a line on the side of the crankbait, and the fish visually sees that. It sees there's a transition from a color to another color. Fish only really see red in our color spectrums, right? So it's like red and gray. So what you're doing is you're showing them something that's one color to another, and that side to side shake of a crankbait, the mixing of those two colors, it literally makes a line across the water, gives them something to zero in on. But so don't focus so much about having 50,000 colors. If you have, Jeremy and I always laugh, because it's like if he knows I'm going to throw Senkos, I'm only going to have 2 colors, black and blue, and green pumpkin with maybe red flake in it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And it's just 2 different contrasts. The green pumpkin is more natural looking for that clear to slightly stained water, and the black and blue literally just to give some opposing contrast in the water. It gives the fish something to see in that stained water. So a lot of people get hung up on colors and want 50 crankbaits of 27 different colors. It might matter in clearer water, but again, then you want to be burning the bait so the fish doesn't have a really good look at what you're throwing to determine, oh, that's not real. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know what to do and throw this time of year, get a red lipless crankbait and just throw it everywhere. Or like what was it they came out with last year? The money badger in that crawl color with an orange bottom. That along
Red
the
was
rock
all over that.
is another good one for pretty much anything. You know what I'm saying? So anything red in any color water, they'll probably chase it too. So there's a little something for you.
So for your pre-fishing kind of strategy, when you're looking at all these maps, I mean, I had Drew Gregory on last month sometime, and he's like, I'm on Google Maps. I'm looking at past years. I'm circling like A spots. I'm then circling like B spots, and I mean, he's like, I probably have 40 spots, and then I go back the next day, and I'm like, okay, well, he was like, when I first going over the map, I noticed there was a lot of lily pads. Well, as I continued to go around the lake, I realized lily pads aren't special in this body of water. He started pulling pins. So what is your kind of approach? Is it similar? Like, do you have like 40 spots? How do you like organize how you're going to, because it's tournament or not, right? If you really want to be strategic in catching fish in general, this is a good strategy, right? I always say a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? Are you going out there just wishing to catch fish, or are you going out with a strategy and you put the time in? And so what's going through your heads?
See, Jeremy will go through, and he's our map study guy. So he has like paper maps and books from like everywhere all over the country that are decades old. And then what he'll do with me is say, hey, bro, I need an electronic version of this somewhere. So I will send him, like he's got Google Earth, so he can go back and look at past history of a lake or an area that he's targeted year by year going back. And then I also have maps that have, like I sent him one today. He's like, I need a topo map of Patoka. So I sent him the one that I use, but that lets him get on it, and then he sees every line, every point, every hump, every saddle, every terrain feature of that lake. And that's one of the advantages we have of being, soldiers, is we're taught land navigation. So we really understand topographical maps and things like that. We understand what we're seeing when we do that. But so he has his old school maps. I provide him the technology, but I'll let Jeremy kind of explain what he looks for based on, especially the lake that we're going, because every body of water is completely different.
So how to divulge this? Anyway, so here's how I do things. I'm a firm believer that every bit of information that is available to us as anglers, we should use. And that's it changes. And I'm not talking about live scope, because I don't have live scope. I've just got regular, So for me, I take advantage of videos online, for example, but I go beyond that. I will look at the unit on a person's console to see where their boat is and see the map, so I can go look at that area to understand what it is that are holding those fish there this time of year. So, for example, if you see a video and a guy catches a 7 or 8 pounder, same time of year you're going to be on that lake, look for those things. Either look at the shoreline and try to identify the area that way. And the reason I say this, I'm not looking for his spot. I'm looking for what is in that area that's holding big fish. And then I take that information and I apply it to where I already know I'm going to go. Because like today, one of the examples, it was the north end of the lake. We're fishing a completely opposite side. And so I took the information I got out of all that and I compared it to the topo map that JT sent me. And I looked for very similar conditions in water depth, what the structure is, how close it is to a creek channel, all the factors that were in that northern end of the lake. I found 2 spots that I can confidently go to this weekend and know that there should be big fish in that little area. So I just narrowed it down to a very specific set of parameters, sort of like Drew Gregory does, where he looked at the lily pads. Well, that's not a factor, so he pulls the pins. Basically, I'm doing the same thing, just using all the data I can get and then comparing that to my old maps.
So real quick, if you're listening in right now, let us know in the comments. Do you have a pre-fishing strategy? Like, do you go to the maps? Do you do this every time you go to a new body of water? Even if you don't tournament fish, most people don't tournament fish, right? On average. And so, do you do something like this? Let us know in the comments, because I want to know. Or you just go out there because, hey, you know, I every week I get to go fishing on Saturday, and I just go out there and have a good time, and I haven't delved this deep into it. And we'll come back to those comments here in just a little bit. But thank you. Anything to add on that, JT?
No, I mean, we've been doing this together for so long. It's even if we're fishing solo, we kind of do the same thing. I mean, it's just the way we go. I mean, it's hard a lot of the times because, you know, with gas prices and things like this, you know, even if you're just going out to fun fish, you want to try to maximize your time on the water the best you can. And you know, I've done some videos on what we're talking about as well, using your technology and other things to kind of help you out, you know, and maybe make things a little bit easier too, because I've shown people using Google Earth, especially if you're bank fishing, you can go back and find places where the channel swings in near the bank, and that's an immediate advantage to fish, because a lot of times if you have a channel swing in near the bank that you're going to be fishing, that space between the channel and the bank will often be loaded with bass, because the bass will come up out of that channel, push the bait fish against the bank, and you're right there throwing your, you know, chatterbait or whatever right in front of them. You know, you've just saved yourself a whole lot of things instead of just walking up on some bank and bomb casting out as far as you can. So sometimes you can do that, and sometimes, like in this lake I was talking about earlier, you know, I can go back and look at the maps from 15 years ago, and the water was so low you can see all the stumps sticking out of the water, and it's like, oh, I can sit right here on the bank if I wanted to and cast all around these stumps that might be 6 inches under the water that you'd never know are there, because you didn't look at a map to say, oh, there's something there. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those little things that you can maximize your, you know, instead of just going fishing, you can increase your chances of catching.
Yeah. Hey, put in the work. It pays off. It really does.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
So if you were to, if any of you were to do like a Google search right now, those listening in, how to catch fish in October, you're going to see the same thing over and over and over again. Find the bait fish. So here's my question to you, gents. Now, obviously, if you find the bait fish, great. Finding the bait fish is not the easiest thing to do, right? You can spend all day and not find them because it's a really small, unless they're hitting on the top, they're going to be hard to see unless you're running electronics, and you're just going to be graphing all day long until you get on them. So, and a lot of people don't run electronics. I did a poll on this not too long ago. You'd be surprised how many people don't have electronics, which is totally fine. So not having electronics and not seeing them blow up on the top, so you don't know where the bait fish are, how would that change your strategy? What would you do now for those listening in who don't have electronics, can't find the bait fish? Where are you fishing? What words of wisdom would you give them?
So I'll hop on this real quick. So the most bait fish we found. Now, the funny thing is, I've got a 10-inch unit on my kayak. I've got a 5-inch unit on my boat, right? So we're rolling around and we see balls of bait fish out in the middle. But the problem is, this is where all the pleasure boats and the big motor boats and the houseboats are still out there. So we're like, we're not going to fish, you know, we're not going to be out here on Main Lake. You know, it's just one of those things. Like we know this weekend somebody is either found them or we following them or we'll find them. It's just the nature of the beast, and whoever that is, we'll probably smack them unless it's 30 degrees, and then we'll see what happens. But we decided to play the not chase the bait fish game because we couldn't find him. I mean, we were out airing the boat out and burning up some gas just because I wanted to get some gas through the motor, because is that the second time I've been out in it all year? Probably. But we wanted to burn some gas through it and cover some water. But we decided we're going to eliminate a lot of that and fish in areas that are a little more contained. And a lot of people will probably do this. They'll be up in the creeks and things like that too. But we decided to target, and one of the good things, especially in the fall, if you can find them and you have access via kayak or boat or whatever, is bluff walls. And, you have access to deep water. The fish can be sitting, if you're fishing off a bunch of bluff walls where the water nearby could be 20 feet, and then you might have a shelf that's like 3 feet right next to the wall, or you might have a shelf next to a bluff walls where it just drops straight down, and it could be 10 20 feet deep along that whole drop off. Well, what you can do there is throw crankbaits or jerk baits at different water levels, or like I was doing, I was just throwing a Senko out and just letting it drop, and then figure out where they wanted it. And sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. But again, when you've got a wall that a bass can push bait fish against to narrow the lake down, so to speak, it makes it easier. And that's why they push them shallow when they can too.
Right.
If you put an object, it's easier for a bass to take a bait fish and eat it when it's trying to push it against an object or into a shallow, because you're eliminating water. You're making the target of that bait fish. Yeah, you can go left or right, and I cut you off. You can't keep going straight. Right. So the bass know this, and that's how they feed. It's just, depending on what time of day. And when Jeremy and I kind of figured this out, it was already late in the afternoon. So nowhere near the time of day we were going to be fishing. But we're like, if they're eating now, they're going to be here around during the day. So we know we can come through with top water in the morning. We could come through with, shallow diving crankbaits, more finessey, later, a little bit later. And then if we got to get deeper and slower, hit it with the jerk bait. And then, Jeremy's throwing his Texas rig, I'm throwing a jig, things like that, where you're hitting all levels. They may not be there right when you're there, but they will be eventually. And, if you find other place with the rock, like Jeremy was talking about targeting wood, I'm going to be chasing rock. Rock always holds heat. Rock gives them little cracks for the bait fish to hide in, and bass, love running them, running them into the rocks too for the same thing, just easier to target.
Yeah. So
we're trying to reduce the lake into smaller areas. I'll probably try to find a creek to fish in if I can, to narrow. And, since we're fishing the KBF Smalley series, we may as well go for smallmouth, but in one advantage we have over all the other bass tournament formats, in this specific tournament format, every bass counts. So if you catch a limit of 5-7 inch fish, you're probably going to catch more fish than a lot of the other guys are going to. Because last year at the same time, I went to a spot that I had been hammering big fish on all year. And we get there and the cold front comes through, and I catch one fish each day. I think I had a 15-incher on the first day. And then I was fishing short time on the second day because I was more worried about doing media stuff because I was doing the live stream. But I caught another like 12 or 13-inch fish on Sunday, and then packed up by lunchtime and went to the setup for the award ceremony. I'm more like the staff than I am one of the true competitors, but I still want to try to catch some fish because, it's what we're there for,
Hey, you know what? Have some fun. If you're not doing this for a living, my goodness, go into it. Yeah. First and foremost, have a good time. You happen to
the big thing is, like we always say, every cast, any cast, it could be the biggest bass you ever caught. And that's the other thing too. So while we were out smoking the dinks the other day, you never know when a big one, like that 19.5 I come up, because I was telling Jeremy, I was like, dude, it's the last day of September, and the biggest fish I have on the board right now is a 15, and I haven't caught a big fish since last month. And then I played it out, I timed it out, put the right bait on in the right time, and then smoked a good one, and then missed another one after that too. So it pays, persistence pays off.
That moon,
oh yeah.
I was like, oh, I should absolutely destroy him. That on Saturday, real early in the morning, that moon is just huge when she's supposed to, put the bite on. And I caught a couple, 15. I think I got another like 17.5, which was nice. But I was like, oh man, this morning. So I go fishing before work a lot. And the last 2 mornings I went out, I went to a really clear lake on Monday morning, and I caught like 2 fish, and they weren't shallow. It was really clear. I could see everything, down to like 10 feet. And so I started fishing the weed lines, and eventually I think I caught just 2. It's like 16. The other one's like 17. I mean, those are respectable fish, but not what I was looking for. I'm fishing with a peanut butter and jelly jig with a D-bomb missile baits trailer. And I was like, oh, brutal. So I'm going to go out. I tried a different lake, stained lake, this morning. And I'm hoping that the bite is now on for me, because I pulled out a Nico rig. So just a 5-inch dinger. I don't buy nail weights. I buy the 9/32 panhead sheet metal screws and just screw those in the end. They're so much cheaper, guys. You want a little hack there. And they work. But I was getting discouraged again because all my normal places.
We gotta follow this tip. We gotta follow this tip, because it's not just good for a weight. That screw head sticking out the end of it when it taps off a rock, that draws their attention.
Oh yeah.
So you got to make sure you got to spill them beans too.
So good. So I eventually found them. They say like 90% of the fish are in like 10% of the water. I would say like 99% of the fish are in like 4% of the water. That's what it feels like. Because whenever I found them, and this is like just a tip in general, like as soon as you catch a fish, it's giving you like a ton of clues. You're like, okay, what was the depth? What was it by? You start looking around. Where are the ledges? And there's so many different things. You're like, how can I recreate this someplace else on the lake that I know? But I picked up here. I got pictures of it. I'll show it. But the Nico rig, because a lot of people right now, they're bringing out their crankbaits, right?
Yep.
And you should, right? Yeah, I caught some crankbait today, breaking out their spinner baits. That's all I saw this past Saturday. All the boats, all I see is spinner baits flying through the air. Spinner bait. Everyone's throwing a spinner bait right now, and I have one hooked up. I just haven't had a lot of luck with it. I have a jig hooked up as well, but I throw this Nico on right next to a lily pads, right near some deep water, within like 2 flips of a tail. Bass can be in 12 feet of water, and I'm like fishing 6 feet, right on the edge, and I get 2 fish within like 5 minutes. Here's the first one. This one's, where'd it go? Is it showing? It's not showing for me.
Well, it did.
For a second.
There it is.
Oh, I don't see a thing. Well, all right, there's the first one. And then followed up with this girl.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah.
On the Nico. So
yeah,
don't forget about your soft plastics right now is really what I'm trying to say here. A lot of people are like, they retire them right now. When October hits, they're like, oh, hard baits. Keep your Senko on. Put in a nail weight or a panhead screw, and man, that was just this morning. So that had a big belly on it.
This time of year before they really start their fall feed, and this is a mistake I make all the time. This time of year is when it's really brutal. If you find a fish, stay there. My biggest mistake is I will catch one and I'll be like, okay, I was doing this and this kind of thing, and let me go somewhere else and try to find them. No, stay put for a while, because there's probably going to be more there. That is the thing that kills me more than often. And I try to go replicate that somewhere else because it worked, instead of fishing the fish that were there. That way you always hear it said, don't leave fish to find fish. And I am notoriously bad about doing that. He yells at me all the time, bro, why didn't you just stay there? Because I got to go find more fish. No, you don't. You found them. Stay there and fish them out too. But the other piece of that too is the key thing about that Neko rig is right now, if they're not chasing yet, if they're not murdering your spinner baits and doing that, they haven't started that true fall feed yet. Slow. Jeremy will drag slowly that. And you tipped off one of the baits that I was, going to be throwing this weekend, but it's right here on the old. But yeah, I mean, like you said, just stick a nail in it, and you can use the same Senko and just be slow, and until they really start firing up that metabolism, knowing. And these cold nights are going to bring it. I mean, after this coming weekend, like Jeremy said, the best fishing in the state is probably going to be in 2 weeks. Probably about the time we're down at Gunnersville chasing, fish down there.
Yep.
And then we'll come back home before Knucklehead and smack a bunch of them, and they go back down there too. But yeah, so for right now, and if you find them in the creeks and they're feeding, bust that spinner bait out, your chatter bait, buzz bait, and hang on, because they're going to kill it. If they're not there yet, slow down. Texas rig, creature baits, Jeremy throwing his worm. Of course, he's throwing his worm because he always throws his worm.
Always throws the worm.
Yeah. Drag a jig, or swim a jig, just kind of figure out what they want. But once they start that fall feed, it's just cast and hang on. Get ready to go for a kayak ride, because you're going to be circling around all over the place. That's the best. Oh, I tell you, last year when I came back from, we came back from the Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship in, I think it was early November. I went back to this place, and I had 5 fish I uploaded that one day for the monthly because I was running out of time, and I had like 2 or 3 19s and 2 18s in the one day. And it was like, I came in like 2nd or 3rd in the state just from that one magnificent day. And it was all on chatterbaits or buzz baits, just exploding. And that was, and then we had ice the next weekend. But I mean, it was great. But it's coming. Yeah. The end of October will be so much better than the beginning of October. Kind of like September was. September sucked for everybody. But, if you get out there enough, you can find them in the middle of the day. But you're going to find now is when they're more doing stuff in the morning or probably the evening. It doesn't seem to be that as much of that midday bite as much anymore.
It's not. For me, once you start getting to like 11 o'clock, like bite's over. And it's been over for about an hour since like 10 o'clock for me. But back to your point, don't leave fish to find fish. And everybody, I think, is guilty of this. Because if you do a lot of research right now, a lot of people are going to be telling you, be on the move, be on the move. And what they're saying is be on the move, but when you find them, stop, right? Yep. And so you're on the move to cover a lot of water to try to find out where they're at. You're throwing your spinner baits, your crankbaits, trying to cover a lot of water. Because when I caught those 2, I probably caught 10 other fish over the next hour in that exact same space. So,
some of the biggest days that I've had ever were I caught a fish, threw right back in there, instantly got another bite, and then it's just like it's on. I had JT on the phone. I'm throwing a drop shot in 2 foot of water just to see if I can catch fish with it. Every bait I was throwing, and it didn't matter. Chatterbait, I don't throw it. I threw a chatterbait and I caught a chatterbait fish. I'm like, holy cow. So when you find fish, stay on them. Just catch them.
Yeah. I would head over to the comments here. I asked a few moments ago people to kind of chime in of what they use for their pre-fishing strategies. Trevor Wagner, maps, Google Earth, look for videos of the lake. That's kind of common. He says, I like it when there's a reservoir and you have a map of the land prior to it being filled. So road beds, old foundations of a house, etc. That's the juice there. And so just putting in the work. Some places will even show you
with that. Underwater ponds, find them. You're on them.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I like it.
Find something that was a pond before it was a lake.
Oh. How would you even go about like
looking at old maps?
Studying maps, or like the old aerial, like we have a lake where they took aerial photos before they filled it in. And so it shows all the roads. It shows where ponds used to be, farm ponds, old towns, buildings, all that. So, but find an old pond, and sometimes you can figure it out when you're on the water anyway, that you notice it's like a bowl shape, and it's kind of odd. Or, well, I can't say anything about the other because it pertains to what we found this weekend. But yeah, there's ways of finding old ponds, and you will always find some of the biggest fish in those areas.
Still hanging out there. Here's a question for you, because I posted a photo of Magdraft catch, and JT, you commented on it on Facebook, because a lot of people are like, right now into October, all you're hearing, once again, How do you catch bass in October? Clickety clack on Google.
Yeah.
Size down, size down, size down.
Yeah.
Use
Finesse
smaller
bait,
worms, smaller
underspin.
worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts on that, both of you?
Oh, we were throwing the glide baits too. Because, I mean, regardless of what's going on, if there's a big fish in the area, and don't get me wrong, we're both going to be downsized fishing the majority of the day. We will both have probably a mag draft nearby. I don't think I'm going to take my glide rod, but I'm definitely going to have a mag draft just because I want something that's in between the glide, but still bigger than standard too. So yeah, when I'm done throwing the jig or something, the glide or the mag draft will probably get tossed around in some areas as well. Just because. If I get 5 little ones, then I'll probably upsize and then try to find somebody bigger.
There you go. Use your 6-inch or 8-inch mag.
I throw the 6. I mean, since we've got the Shads that are bigger, but I'm just looking for something to upsize a bit, but not go overboard. Now, if I'm down there in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
or if I'm in Texas, Florida, Alabama, down south, they can throw those tanks.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy, what do you think?
I know what he's going to throw, and he probably ain't going to say it.
I mean, yeah,
you can be cryptic. You guys are going to a tournament. We'll respect that.
Well, I do downsize on one level, but then again, I upsize. So a lot of people right now will throw the little Kayak paddle tails on a underspin. I go with a shorter, fatter paddle tail on an underspin. It's smaller, but it has more action, I think. And this time of year, I can match the hatch a lot better by cutting off the tip of the little paddle tail until I got the right size to match the hatch.
So what are you doing again?
So I take a paddle tail, and when I figure out what size the bait fish are, I'll start cutting the tail. Yeah.
All right.
So that's pretty much my fatter instead of the skinnier Kayaks. And then, like I said, you never know. There's a period where they go to the 7-inch worm. That's the only thing they'll bite. And then here in about 3 weeks, that 10-inch worm for me will be money. I won't throw anything else from after we get back. The only thing I'll be throwing is a big glide bait and a big worm.
You and your big worm. That thing comes out and it never goes to sleep.
Dude,
if I showed people pictures of the fish I've caught this year, 98% of the fish have come on that. And
because you fish it 98% of the time.
Well,
but they're big fish. I'll give you that.
I do. There are things like rattle traps I could catch smaller fish on. There's a lot of baits I use just for fun fishing. But when I'm looking for bigger fish, it could be anything. It could be hopping it on the bottom, letting it just dead sticking it, or swimming it. You know how many fish you catch swimming a 10-inch worm around lily pads? I mean, they crush it. And that's all year long. So I just apply what I know when they're feeding. I think it's less about the bait you're throwing and being in the right area with a lot of fish, because then they're competing against each other. You'll see a lot of people doubling up. You ever seen a guy throwing an A-rig and catch 2 fish at the same time? You'll see a lot more of that right now than you do the other times of the year. And will I be throwing an A-rig? Yes, I will be throwing an A-rig.
I always love it when you
I was going to ask if you're actually going to take one.
Yep.
Nice. I always love when you catch a fish and you see another one come at it. That's why I love when I see a blow up. I pull up my wacky rig and I throw it, boom, right next to it, and you'd be surprised. I'd probably say 3 to 4 times out of 10, that bass will smack it if I follow up with a wacky rig. If I do it, if I have it ready. It's like people always ask me the question, oh, why do you carry 6 rods? I only need 1. I was like, because within a 50-yard period, I'll break out every single one of them and use them. And I don't have time to sit there and retie knots. A lot of times that opportunity is gone by the time I change out that particular lure. But all right,
There is a really good question. If for a quick segue, since we talked about colder weather coming in this
go for
weekend,
it.
and Jeremy would be a good one to answer this. But Patrick Fahey's message at 9:18 about dry suits and so forth, that would be
There
a
we go.
really good Jeremy to kind of cover, because I'm a polar bear, so I might be in a light jacket, but Jeremy, because of his arm condition, has to stay a little warmer. So talk a little bit about cold weather, how you prepare, Jeremy, because we had to do this last year when we went to the NC because we kept having those winter-like conditions in the middle of October.
Well, here's the question before you answer it, Jeremy.
Okay.
It says, winter is coming. Winter is coming. Do you guys wear any dry suits or semi-dry suits for fishing below 50 degrees?
No, I don't.
Yeah. You got to give us more than that. Come on.
Okay.
Your rationale.
Motorcycle jackets that are heated. They're very lightweight. They fit under your rain gear. They come with a big battery, and the sleeves are heated. The front's heated. The back. My core stays heated the whole time, and it's got a little button where I can change the amount of heat. So I just set it and I go. That battery lasts all day long. I charge it just like I do my electronics batteries. And I was out in 22-degree weather and was just toasty as could be.
So you wear a motorcycle jacket
to kind of expand a little bit on what his question was, there you want to go find a channel called The Little Stuff, and Jeff Little did a whole series on, because he works with NRS, on dry suits, on various layers and things like that too. Because honestly, in true winter fishing, when the water temps are down where they're dangerous to your body, that's when you got to be careful, and you want to have dry suit type stuff on, or being able to get out of the water very quickly so you don't hypothermia. And I know Darren's done some videos on these as well. But you want to choose carefully what you take and where to, but you also want to have a kayak that you really don't have to worry about that as much in. I'm in winter conditions. I'm not going to be out on a river in true moving water where it's more likely that something can happen versus being on a lake or a pond where the water is a little more still. You're less likely to come out of the kayak. But as far as just cold, you're talking about cold weather versus cold water. So Jeremy has to keep his core warm for his arm to operate, and he wears a sleeve on it under his jacket as well, so he can layer. I'm a polar bear, so I could be out there in a pair of Wrangler pants and a long sleeve fishing shirt and a jacket, and I'll be fine. I mean, people looking at me last year when we were fishing, and there was ice on the water, and I'm out there in a jacket, but it's like, the water temp then wasn't that cold. It was just the air temp. But, you have to layer, and I don't do the whole flannels and this and that. You want stuff that's going to dry quickly if something happens, or at least as quick as possible. So even if it's a jacket that I could take off and throw on something else, I wear fishing shirts that will dry pretty quickly versus, we do wear our NRS neoprene boots to protect our feet and legs. And, because you want to keep warm your core areas. You most lose heat the top of your head, your hands, and your feet. The rest of your body, the core itself, does a pretty good job for that too. But you protect those areas where heat escapes the most. You can stay warm. Jeremy pedals, so he's often warm anyway, just from fisher sizing. And then me out there, pushing the button on the remote. That's fine, because like I said, I'll be up in a deer stand in 20-degree weather in light pants and a jacket, and I'm fine. That's just it's not from being hot, skinny, or fat or whatever. It's just the way your body nature is. Either you like hot weather, you like cold weather. He likes hot weather. I'm a polar bear, and we just we know that, and that's just the way it goes.
I'll reiterate, because I did a video and did a bunch of research on this. I would think the video is called "Life-Saving Gears Should Be on Your Kayak," and what people underestimate is what cold water will do to you, and how little time you have before you start losing body function and could go unconscious. I mean, and I'm not talking about you're out there floating in the water, can't get back into your kayak. Let's say you got wet and you're 30 minutes from the boat dock, right?
Yep.
And so don't underestimate that for sure. Dress to swim is kind of the way to go here, especially in, your own body. People down in Texas are like, what are you talking about? It never gets that cold. But up here in Ohio, I mean, it became real to me. My dad and I were fishing early in the season, and we were probably 20 minutes from the boat dock, and he got wet, and I had an extra jacket, which is nice, and I actually towed him back. But I was just thinking, if my dad was out there where we were at, which is the furthest away from the boat ramp, that could have been dicey.
Mm-hmm.
It really could have. And so don't become a statistic there.
Yep.
Let's go tactical the last few moments that we have together. If you have a question for JT or Jeremy, go ahead and throw that in the comments, and we'll circle about that and finish up on those. Army Outdoors says, hey, what's up, fellas? Still hunting for my first California bass. Going to hunting this weekend for sure. We miss you. Miss you, brother. Thanks so much for being a member of the Wendell Fishing, and I believe probably Gramps too. I believe so. I'm not sure, but yeah. So love all the support, as Gramps says, and I said, it all goes back in the channel. We're not making any money on this, not at all.
No.
Bassin with Big Malone says, hey, as Debo says, always bring an extra pair of clothes with you. Yes.
Yep.
Put it in if you're carrying it on the yak, or
along with one of those little thermal blankets in case you have to get to shore to help kind of.
And a fire starter. They have a little kit that you can put in a dry bag with your extra clothes.
Yep.
And that way you got tinder, you just grab some sticks and whatnot. Boom. You got a little fire. If you have to get to the bank and dry, change your clothes. Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. Alan Gaines, MMA. Here's a good question for you. I know Wendell hasn't tipped yet. That is true. Yet is the key, because it will happen as much as I fish. But has it happened to you guys? And if it was there anything you could have done to prevent it? I know Alan, we've been going back and forth on the channel. He's kind of newer to kayak fishing, and he's falling in love with it. So any words of wisdom there?
I'll go first, and then you can tell your story. How's that? Because you were with me. So you know how you like seat risers on your kayak? Well, I thought I was going to be clever and make some of my own out of blocks of like 2x4.
Ooh,
I'm going to rise my seat up a couple inches. Then I'll just restrap my seat backs down and I'll be good. So I'm sitting there probably about 4 or 5 feet off the bank. And I shifted my weight to the left a little. One block went over. The other block went over. I went over. The kayak rolled because it threw me over. I don't know how many rod tips I broke. I mean, dumped everything. Didn't have anything leashed, but we were right next to the bank. But I was probably in 5-6 foot of water, and so it was shortly after that I learned about awesome accessories from Navarre Fishing and Yak Gadget and all these guys who actually 3D print stuff. And then I decided after that, you know what, the seat position is perfectly fine where it is. But I mean, a lot of people think that, they go out and buy a kayak and they're like, oh, I can add a seat to it myself later. No, if your kayak was meant to have a seat that's not the little padded cushion with the little padded back, and you want a lawn chair, you should have bought a kayak with the lawn chair already in it. Don't try to go get one and put it in it. That kayak wasn't made to do that. And I was trying to do the same thing. I was trying to modify stuff for something really I didn't need, but I'd seen other people, oh, seat risers, it's so much better up here. No, I'm a little bigger. I'm a little more round. I cover more space in the 37 inches of the kayak. I need to stay confined in the kayak because, as Bearded Paddler says, keep your head inside the kayak, because once it goes outside of the kayak, the width, so do you. And that's what happened to me, being stupid, trying to put seat risers. It's something that really didn't even need it.
Right.
Jeremy's got a story that was in a little bit older kayak, but his was a little more traumatic than mine.
Well, really quick to your story. I was actually just doing a video on the water today talking about seat risers and that very thing, right? They're not designed to go up an extra inch or 2 inches, right? The higher you get, the less stable it is going to be for you. And so keep that in mind if you want to do that and when you want to do that. And if you guys didn't hear the Bearded Paddler, we went, I think, for the longest podcast on the KFO show just a couple of weeks ago. It was like an hour and 45 minutes, but he brought the juice. So he manages one of the largest kayak stores in North America, and so he sells this thing every day. And so he also has a channel, The Bearded Paddler. Go check him out. But we're gonna have him back on. But Jeremy, let me hear your story in the semi-older kayak.
Yeah, so I had never rolled it until I did, and I was in a sit-in with 4 rods tucked down in the kayak where my legs go, and I hit a stump, and instantly I was upside down, trapped, because those rods pinned my legs. So I had to actually physically pull those rods out while I'm upside down, holding my breath to get my feet out. I lost almost everything that day. My phone, my glasses, rods, everything. And I realized that never again. So now I take it serious. That's why I have the fire kit, the clothes, whatever the situation I can run into, and always wear my life jacket because that saved my life. So yeah,
it's terrifying.
It is, because it happened so quick. There was no, oh my gosh, what it was. I'm upside down. Why can't I get out? So yeah, I always tell people, don't take more than you have to on your kayak, because that's where things start going bad. You know, the bigger kayaks, you put too much stuff on it, you get into waves, what's it going to do?
Yep.
You know, so use common sense when you're loading out your kayak.
Yeah, for sure. And you said you lost everything. Almost lost your life, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I keep hearing, guys, as someone, and JT, you probably have this too. I can't tell you how many comments I get like every month, and people share a story with me. And the story is about how I would have lost my life if I wasn't wearing a life jacket. And they're not like, oh, I tipped my kayak over, in open water. And, it's like, it's always the compounding of mistakes that gets them into a scenario, and it happens fast. And I just had it happen this past week. Like, I was on the river, this happened, and this happened, all random, but all happened at the same time. And if I didn't have my PFD, I wouldn't be writing this comment today. Do you get that a lot, JT?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
I get various emails on things like that, tips that we've given that have helped people, along with other folks that are like first responders or soldiers, or who understand the therapy part of this as well. But it's not very therapeutic when you're out fishing and you're next thing you know, you're upside down in the water. And Jeremy's still fit enough to really be able to swim, whereas I got bad bones and feet and this and that. I had an incident last year. It's funny thinking about it, but had I not had had I not already had my PFD on, it could have got dangerous. Literally stepped on a dock that was filled with algae and steep, and the ramp was a long, deep ramp. And I mean, I slid down the ramp and under the water and came back up because I had my jacket on, and it was close enough to basically grab the back of my kayak. And I'm only, the front of my kayak is still on the ramp, and I'm under the water behind the kayak, grabbing it like this, and then having to walk myself back up and basically crawl up the ramp because it was so slippery. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that, there's never the perfect water shoes. But Crocs and boat ramps with algae on them just do not work. And you see that often. People will slip on, it's funny when we see it, but those of us are on cameras all the time, but you see people slip on muddy banks and things like that too. But just having that PFD on, I've always made it a habit of, I put my boat in the water, and then my PFD always stays in the back seat of my truck, and I grab the PFD when I lock my door, grab my keys and my phone. I tether my phone to my life jacket. I lock my keys in the pocket that's zippered in my life jacket, and I zip my life jacket as I'm walking down to the kayak. It never stays down on the kayak. I don't put it on the water or the ramp. I do it at my truck so that it's on me when I get to my kayak, just because of incidents like that where you could just slip, just something as simple as a boat ramp and go right underwater.
Crazy. Trevor Wagner said, the dumbest comment I heard from a person who said they did not wear a life jacket is because they do adult things. Oh my gosh. His response was like dying? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not gonna kick that dead horse here. Let's leave the viewers and listeners with some juice. So we'll kind of end on this. Lures you would recommend for October. And you can even break it up like first beginning of October, late October.
Too, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Because it's there's a big difference between the two, and not necessarily what you had tied on now. And feel free, you guys are coming up in a tournament. We want to honor, you guys got some. We all have things that we don't share, right? I literally have a color of a particular rig that I use that it's kind of the secret between a buddy and I that we fish. So we always have those things that we kind of hold back to yourself. So if you have those, obviously hold those back. But what would you recommend to someone who's like, I can't catch them right now, and I haven't been able to catch them the second part of October in years past? What am I doing? Help me out. Pass it off to you guys.
Buzzbait and balsa.
Say what? Say that again.
A buzzbait and balsa wood cranks.
Interesting.
Those are my two picks.
Yeah.
Right now.
For most of this month, I'll be throwing both of those.
Yeah. So I
have those tied on. So
yeah, I'll throw some sort of top water to start out with. If I'm chasing smallies, a whopper plopper, I'll probably, or a buzz bait. I love the Z-Man Hellraiser just because it's something they haven't heard yet. One of the things I'm going to be looking for Friday, I don't know if the 4-inch versions of those are out yet, but you want to start today with the top water just to see. And literally, as it picks up, you can almost throw a buzz bait or a top water all day long just to see and cover water. But yeah, the smaller crankbaits and playing with depth, as it warms up, I'll slow down and throw a jig, throw a Senko. I'll always throw a Senko. If I wanted to get, if I wanted to have a little different presentation, I'll put that screw in the front, or I have the tungsten nail weights because I like hearing that tap on rocks. So I'll, it'll be some form of Senko with a nail in it or not, NACO style or wacky or Texas rigged. And then a jig. And then as the end of October shows up, then it's spinner baits, buzz baits, and jackhammers and chuck and wind and just slay them all day long. But that's probably, depending on where you're at in the country, when they really start that fall feed. And then underspin is another one with a smaller swim bait. That's the one I wasn't going to talk about, wasn't it? But I mean, a lot of people talk about that too. But I mean, realistically, it's if you find them, stay put and fish the place out really well, and then just keep working those types of areas. But yeah, I mean, and that's what it's going to take to win this weekend is those if the guys who win it find the active feed and fish, which is what happened to us last year. They put up 90 inches both days, and the rest of the field from 7th down might have caught 1 or 2 fish each. Wow. It was just whoever was on them that day, on them or not, found them. If they found them in a pocket somewhere, then they were just smoking them. So I expect the same thing again this year.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, folks. Jeremy, JT, thank you guys so much. I love having you guys on. We'll have to continue to do that into the future. We're getting toward the end of the fishing season coming up here. We got like a month and a half left. I'm going to be down there at the Knucklehead with JT. Jeremy, you coming down?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Team Cramps.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep. Of course you're coming down. I'll be.
Yep. So we'll be down there in about 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks for the state championships.
And then again.
And then again for the Knucklehead 2 weeks later. So, yeah, we're going to go pre-fish in a championship, and then we're going to go really put it on in Knucklehead.
Heck yeah. It's going to be a freaking blast. Guys, we have 50
people
people watching.
Time. We can't wait to meet everybody.
I know. This is some people I've had on the show, but I've never actually met them. Like the majority of people I have not met. Guys, there are 50 people live right now between Gramps' channel and my channel. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that like button. It helps us just post video, like get extra reach afterwards, which is kind of nice for us. And hopefully more people out there, it'll show up in their feeds, which is nice.
And we told our channel last night that we're renaming and rebranding after probably around Christmas. we're going to become Hickman Outdoors. It's going to be a tribute to our father, but it's also going to be something where Jeremy, myself, and then my youngest, John Michael Hickman, will be also contributing content. And it's going to be more outdoor stuff. So we're fishing, kayaking, camping. John Michael likes to solo camp and hike, things like that. You might see my other boys hop in as well, too. But it's going to be Hickman Outdoors, and we're just going to rebrand everything and bring new stickers to the Knucklehead.
Ooh.
And probably launch it there, So I've already moved the Facebook page over, and we'll do all that. So Fishing and Gramps, Hickman, Two Brothers Fishing, all this other stuff, it'll all merge into one, and it'll just be Hickman Outdoors, and that'll be all of us contributing different content.
There it is. If you have not yet headed over to Fishing with Gramps YouTube page, go over there, hit the sub button. Always a blast to follow. Guys, thank you for your time tonight. We will be on next week. I have Impulse Rods. I always love it when I can get companies on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of go deep dive. They're hard to get. They're hard to nail down and get to come on the show, but Impulse is going to be on, got the owners on. And so we're going to take a deep dive on fishing rods, something I believe is kind of misunderstood a lot.
Yep.
And so look forward to that next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Jeremy, JT, you guys rock. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
No problem.